My friends, Luke Sklar's is the new Goldeneye champion after he overtook Rayan Perfect Ace Isran, the longest reigning champion in Goldeneye's history. But how did Luke do it? And how long might it last? Find out on this special update edition of Speed News. On October 2nd, Luke Sklar's posted a new PB, Frigate 00 Agent 109, to the Elite Goldeneye World Rankings, a 2-second cut and 11-point gain, which pushed him ahead of Rayan Isran after a lengthy pursuit and slow climb towards Ace. Luke had been closing in as Ace had been fairly inactive this year, but Luke hadn't exactly been busting out personal record after personal record either. In July 2018, Luke tied the Statue Secret Agent 218 world record for a gain of 10 points. In September, Luke achieved Frigate Secret Agent 59, a gain of 7 points from his PB of 102, as well as the Cradle Agent 33, a snowballed world record now tied by 14 people, and this resulted in a gain of 17 points on Ace. But when you compare this to Ace's only record this year, the untied Bunker 1 Secret Agent 20, which gained him 3 points on Luke, it's easy to see how Luke was able to slowly but surely hunt him down. Now, this isn't Luke's first time taking the number 1 spot on the Goldeneye rankings. He was the champion for 21 days in September 2016 after several months of turmoil and turnover at the top spot, but was quickly repassed by Ace, who has held the top spot ever since. In fact, Ace has now held the first place spot in Goldeneye for 2,036 days, dating back to June 2008, having a half-decade-long battle with Clemens for the first place spot, but also being passed briefly at points by Mark Rutsu and Luke Sklar's. Remind me to do a progression on the Goldeneye Champions lore at some point. But this video isn't about that. It's about Luke taking the first spot in Goldeneye, so let's hear what he had to say about it.
Goldeneye Champion doesn't mean being the most talented player. It also doesn't mean holding the most world records or having achieved the most world records in the past. Being champion of Goldeneye isn't determined by your untied count, career untied count, or the quality of your untieds, however that might be measured. Goldeneye Champion is not about having the best total time, holding the longest standing untied, or having the most one-liners. Nor does it mean being the best agent, secret agent, or 00 agent. What it means to be Goldeneye Champion is having the best, most well-rounded set of times on each of the game's 60 individual levels. This is easier said than done, as the Goldeneye leaderboard is a constantly, quickly evolving battlefield of new strategies, emerging and seasoned talent, outstanding individual performances, occasional hoarding, and ample degeneracy. Becoming Goldeneye Champion requires you to face your fears as well as to capitalize on your strengths. No single player has ever mastered all of the game's 60 levels, let alone at once. To swim against the tide, especially at the highest level and in the post-Twitch era, is not for the faint of heart. Amongst such incredible talent, I am proud to retake the throne as Goldeneye Champion in 2018. To finish, I'd like to share a quote by legendary skateboarder Rodney Mullen, where he talks about dealing with expectations. It puts a ceiling on your progress. You're blocked by your pride. To get good, you have to throw your board around and fall. Thanks for listening.
Luke and Ace both joined the Elite community in 2005, around the same time as me, so I've had a first-hand view of both of their careers over this time. We know Ace was immediately some kind of child prodigy, once getting 20 untied world records in Perfect Dark in a span of 12 days in December 2007. But it's fair to say Luke's career has been much different. For the first several years, Luke was one of those players ranked around 60th place, who would sometimes grind a level really hard and get an uncommon world record. Something like Surface 1 Agent 103 or Caverns Secret Agent 123, Luke was one of the first 10 people to achieve these. Pretty good for someone ranked 60th. Luke also spent a long time going for Caverns Agent 102, a would-be untied, like several hundred hours and some very close calls. It became sort of his defining grind in the game back then. but he could never quite nail it. So when Brian Bosshart finally untied 102 in November 2007, it really affected Luke's desire to play. And Luke didn't play much for the next 5 years, partly having moved on to college and socializing as a young man, something many GoldenEye speedrunners went through at that age. Luke's one exception to this was getting a Depot Secret Agent 43 world record in 2009, which is yet another example of him showing his potential was well above his rank. But we wouldn't find out his true potential for many years to come. Fall 2012 came along, and it feels like I referenced this in nearly every speedrunning video, but it really did change everything. With great streams of Super Mario 64 and Wind Waker getting thousands of viewers, many new people were attracted to speedrunning, and many old speedrunners were inspired to return and give it another shot. And Luke was definitely inspired, to say the least. Over the next 2 years, he would absolutely tear up the rankings, with dozens, hundreds of improvements to his GoldenEye times page. By May 2013, he'd climbed all the way into the top 10, and by December 2013, he'd passed me to bust into the top 5, where he's remained ever since. Like Luke said, he might not have the most world records, untied records, or have achieved the most of these records at any point in his career. In fact, Luke's career totals stand at 56 total world records and 3 untied world records. Compared to Ace's 169 career world records and 59 career untied records, Ace has had more untied world records than Luke has had total records. But it's about having the most well-rounded times page, like he said, all 60 levels added up on the rankings at once. A times page Luke has been meticulously crafting away on for the past 6 years. Luke called speedrunning a combination of problem solving and craftsmanship, which I found pretty apt. But it was this constant grinding and improvement of his times page, while some other top players have been inactive, which got us to where we are now. Ace, as mentioned, only improved 1 record this year and only 5 records in 2017. He could gain 23 points with Runway Secret Agent 22, 17 points with Cradle Agent 33, 10 points in either Streets Agent 111 or Depot Agent 23. All records very, very easily within his ability. But it just seems that Ace's desire to play has been non-existent lately. Ace's biggest gaming concerns these days are hoping for someone to stream Paper Mario, and anytime we ask him about streaming himself, he just diverts with an excuse about being busy with school, or his gaming equipment not working, not too dissimilar from the reasons Luke or I didn't play when we were Ace's age, but not the responses of someone who actually wants to play. Anything can happen, but I would count Ace out of the picture for the foreseeable future. Mark Rutsu, ranked 5th place, has a lot of outdated records to clean up. He's about 150 points back of Luke, but Mark's been stuck grinding for Silo Agent 59, a would-be untied world record, and refuses to play anything else. He's been playing this for the past year. I wouldn't hold my breath on Mark mounting a challenge for first place anytime soon either. Carl and Clemens are 2 worthy contenders. Carl is back to streaming pretty much every day now and has recently done some damage, finishing up his Cradle sweep and getting 2 of the Jungle records, with the 3rd one on the horizon. And he's showing potential for some untied records on the stage. This has gained him 36 points in the last week alone. He's now about 250 points back of Luke, but at this pace, he could catch up very, very quickly. Clemens is much closer to Luke, only 80 points back, and has a very viable path to number 1. He's also streaming pretty regularly as well, but he's been distracted lately going for the Bunker 1 Double Agent 101 untied world record, which would gain him 0 points on Luke. In fact, it would only cause Ace and I to lose 3 points, since we currently share the record with him. This sort of pursuit of untieds instead of points is a philosophical challenge that top GoldenEye players are always faced with. Is it more worthwhile to push the game's limits, or amass as many records are already possible? In any case, Clemens has the 2nd most days at number 1 in the game's history, so he's pretty happy playing whatever he feels. The most likely challenger for the number 1 spot might be Daniel Wotis Coelho, just over 30 points behind, with things like Depot 23 and Streets 111 out there for the taking. This would be very notable, as Wotis would become the first Goldeneye champion who began speedrunning the game in the new era, that being 2012 or later. And it definitely could happen. He's just been kind of on and off with his activity lately, often busy with work and real-world commitments, so it's hard to tell if he will mount a charge before Luke can pull even further ahead. And that kind of reminds me of something that crossed my mind in all of this with Luke becoming the champion. If you remember my top 5 stunning instances of degeneracy in Elite history video, one of the first videos I made, never imagining it'd get more than a few hundred views from the community itself and a few others. I contrasted Luke's generacy, being a competent and professional architect in his native land of Australia, with Mark Rutsu's dishwashing degeneracy and inane ramblings.
I haven't done the dishes since Patrick was here, so it's like a bit more than a month.
But as time has gone on, it feels like most of us, Mark included, have grown up to a large extent. We keep playing, but the days of grinding all day, every day are long gone, and have to balance our world record attempts with careers and obligations. That's a big reason Ace often provides when we ask him why he's not playing, whereas Luke managed to overcome this excuse and take the number 1 spot. And I know it kind of sounds oxymoronic, growing up, yet still playing a 20-year-old video game, but I think you can see it across the wider speedrunning community too. So many of us were just kids when we all started, with no concern for anything aside from going fast in video games. But now we're men with responsibilities to uphold, whatever those may be. And it feels like Luke's rise to Goldeneye champion kind of embodies that growing up and maturity we've seen over the last few years in speedrunning as a whole. At least, most of speedrunning. In any case, there is a lot going on in Goldeneye, as there often is. I'll link a bunch of streams in the description for you to check out and follow along with. The beautiful thing with speedrunning is that you really never know what will happen. A new strategy could come along tomorrow, new records could snowball, inactive players could lose a ton of points, Ace could surprise us all and return to the fray, Boss could tap into his all-time legend status and have a huge impact. The only way to find out is to see what the future brings us. So with that, a huge congratulations to Luke for becoming champion. Long may he reign. And I'm excited to turn on Carl and Clemens' streams tonight and see what they bring to the table. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at Luke's ascent to number 1. Stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.